Harris Brothers. I had a rivalry with them in TNA. Worked with them several weeks in a row. Very physical guys, and but nice guys too, away from the ring especially.
Ron Killing?
Ron Killings was kind enough to put me over on a show in New York, a little house show that for a local promotion that didn't mean a whole lot, but again, I would rank it as one of my biggest victories to date because he was at the time the former NWA World Champion when I pinned his shoulders to the mat, and I just think any guy that would do something like that is is a true professional. That's what I would say about Ron Killings more than anything, and also the fact that he's a talented guy, talented musician, talented wrestler, just a really cool guy to be around.
Chris Sabin?
Sabin, one of my favorite opponents, without a doubt. We had some really solid matches together, and again, future major player in the industry, I think.
Jerry Lynn?
Jerry Lynn, probably one of the most underrated guys, and I don't know at his age and with his experience how he could still be underrated, but he is.
How many times did you wrestle him? Just once?
Not too many.
You were in like a 6-man tag?
We've been in all these gauntlet situation scenarios, and every chance we get to lock up, we do. Even if it's a 6-man or 8-man or whatever, we wind up getting in there together. And I love that because just the fact that he shows me that kind of respect blows my mind because I have nothing but the utmost respect for Jerry. Great wrestler.
Chris Chetty.
Chetty is somebody who I've definitely had some good times on the road with and wrestled and had fun with, and I consider him a very good opponent too.
Disgraceland.
Disgraceland. That's a mixed subject because I really didn't, that segment obviously went nowhere. But the guy who plays the character, Luther Biggs, was again a friend of Canyon's in Atlanta.
Wasn't he a power plant guy too?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and I spent a lot of time with him, socially and professionally. And so when I found out I was doing this thing with him, even though I wasn't a big fan of the idea, just the fact that I was doing it with him made it somewhat easier to do. So.
Danny Daniels.
Great wrestler. He's a really, really good. He's got a lot of potential. I think he's got nowhere to go but up too.
Tony Mamaluke?
Mamaluke. Somebody I befriended immediately when we both wound up in Atlanta at the same time. Super guy.
Spider Nate Webb?
Spider Nate Webb was my roommate in Europe, and we had a blast. Nobody had more fun than the two of us, I don't think, on that tour.
Reckless Youth?
Great wrestler. I finally got the chance to work with him in Florida a couple of years ago, and I'm really thankful I got that opportunity. We had a lot of fun together, and his reputation precedes him, much like mine. The underground cult indie superstar guy is Reckless Youth, Shark Boy.
Samoa Joe?
Samoa Joe. I was on a show with him last night.
Who'd you wrestle
Great
last
talent.
night?
I was in a gauntlet match thing in New York City for USA Pro, and I actually got to lock up with Kamala, the Kamala.
The original Kamala?
Yes. So that was a lot of fun.
Jimmy Ray.
Jimmy Ray, good, another good talent. One of Bill Barron's guys down there in Atlanta. Great wrestler.
How was that NWA Wild Side? Have you ever wrestled
I've never wrestled there, no. I'm friends with Bill, friends with a lot of the guys. Most of the guys come through TNA at one time or another. So.
The Maestro.
Maestro, he's quite a character, the Maestro. He's somebody I ran into when I was still referee. He was wrestling for Bobby Blaze's group in Kentucky, and he told us all, he's getting ready to land this deal with WCW, and sure enough, he did shortly thereafter. So we wound up on some of the same Saturday night tapings and things.
Is that guy really related to Gorgeous George or something?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe he did. He had the rights to the name in the WCW.
Sold it to Macho Man?
Yeah.
You ever around Randy Savage?
No. And that's a shame because he's like one of my all-time favorites, and he's one of those guys that I've never really got a chance to talk to.
Chris Daniels?
Great guy. Super guy.
Nova?
Nova is somebody who I haven't got to work with too often. We did do that Las Vegas pay-per-view thing together. I'd like a chance to work with him more because I think he's really talented too.
Tommy Dreamer?
Dreamer is somebody who has a great sense of humor. He's a lot of fun to be around. I think he's very creative, and I got to work with him a little bit in the HWA.
Steven Richards?
Stevie Richards is a great Guy, for no other reason than, you know, we were both were friends with Mikey, and when Mikey died, we spent a lot of time talking on the phone. He was kind enough to invite me down to, you know, to attend the funeral, and we stayed with Charles Robinson while we were down there, together, both of us, and Hurricane as well, and gotten to be really good friends with Stevie since, you know, mostly since Trash's passing.
Now, when you wrestled them in the AHWA, were they under WWF contract?
They were, yeah.
How was that when those guys were in the HWA, the WWF guys that were kind of like in limbo?
Well, some guys, you know, were a little nicer, a little friendlier than others, and the two you mentioned, Tommy and Stevie, couldn't have been any nicer because they, if nothing else, they felt for guys like me who didn't have a contract and who were there just, you know, trying to get a spot, and they were really supportive and gave good advice.
David Young?
David Young, I don't know who he upset, but he had to lose to Shark Boy recently on TNA. So whoever he upset, man, I feel bad for that guy.
Sanjay Dutt?
Sanjay Dutt, he was also on the card last night. It's funny, half these names you're mentioning, I just talked to him. What a talent, though. This guy's incredible.
Elix Skipper?
Another one. This guy can walk the ropes. He's a cat. I mean,
Was he in the power plant when you were there?
He was, yeah. Yeah, and he's one of those guys that made it enjoyable.
How was Sean O'Hare? Did you ever talk to him when he was
He
down
came
there?
in after I left, but I got to know him a little bit at the Saturday night shows and things.
Juventud Guerrero?
Hoovy. He's, what can you say about Hoovy? He's been a lot of places, done a lot of things. He made quite a reputation for himself.
And you wrestled in a tag match in an America's X Cup?
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Against the Luchadors?
Yeah.
Hector Garza, Mr. Aguila, Abismo Negro?
It was kind of tough because we had one thing in mind, and then plans kind of switched at the last second. Oh, time out.
And you wrestled in an X Cup match, America's X Cup?
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was a situation where we had one mindset going into the match. We knew roughly how much time the segment was supposed to go and things like that, and everything got changed at the last minute. So it was really stressful because there was one guy on the team that spoke English somewhat, and so we had to...
Who was that?
Who the hell was the translator? I can't even remember the four.
Aguila?
No.
Abismo Negro?
No.
Hector Garza?
No. Who's the other one?
Juventud.
No. Yeah, Hoovy speaks English. Was he in that match? Yeah, he was. It would have had to have been Hoovy was doing all the translating. You know what? Can you just edit this one out?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the best place on the road to eat?
Best place to eat is depends on what part of the country you're in, but you can't argue with Denny's or Waffle House because they're both open 24 hours.
What's the best hotel?
Anyone that I don't have to pay for. I don't really have a preference. I like having like a swimming pool there, not just because I'm a shark, but because I like swimming.
Anything else you want to add?
Maybe one more plug for the website, sharkboy.net, and you know, thanks for your support, everybody out there. I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna shoot this spin right through the camera at you. And just, you know, God bless you. And keep coming out, keep supporting wrestling, and keep supporting Shark Boy, and things will be good.
And thanks.
All right.
For doing it.
Thanks for having me.